Good morning. Today we are learning about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, 1325 to 1351. Last class we were learning about lesson 8, medieval India, and we were learning Alauddin Khilji and his reforms. Our today's topic is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Ghazi Malik laid foundation to the Tughlaq dynasty. Ghazi Malik ascended the throne in 1320, and after his ascension, he assumed the title Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Thus, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq laid foundation to the Tughlaq dynasty. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Their foundation in 1320. He ruled from 1320 to 1325. After his death, his son became the next ruler. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq died in 1325. It is said that it was a planned attempt made by his son Jonah Khan. The death of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was a planned attempt made by his son Jonah Khan. And Jonah Khan ascended the throne in 1325 after the death of his father, Jonah Khan, his son. Jonah Khan ascended the throne in 1325, and after ascending the throne, he assumed the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So thus Muhammad bin Tughlaq became the ruler of Tughlaq dynasty in 1325. He was a learned person. He was a scholar. He had good knowledge in various subjects, in philosophy, religion, mathematics, astronomy, sciences, and various subjects. He had good knowledge. He was a scholar. He was popular. He was one of the most popular rulers of the Delhi Sultanate. And his popularity was mainly because of the reforms introduced by him. He introduced some of the reforms and which made him very popular. And the reforms introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. First one, transfer of capital or shifting capital. First reform introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq is shifting capital. Delhi was the capital of the Delhi Sultanate. Muhammad bin Tughlaq had a vast empire. His empire spread to South India also. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq felt that it is very difficult to control the South Indian territories from far away Delhi. Delhi is in the northern part of India. And from northern part of India, he found it very difficult to rule the southern territories or to exercise proper control over the southern territories. That is why he planned for shifting his capital to a central region. Suppose this is the north to south region, then Delhi is almost here only, and from here to rule the southern part of India is very difficult. So he planned shifted his capital from the northern part to almost the center of India. If he is shifting his capital to the center of India, then we can exercise better control over northern part as well as the southern part of India. So he planned to shift his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad or Devagiri. This Devagiri is in present day near Aurangabad in Maharashtra. This in present day Maharashtra. And he planned to shift his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Devagiri is also known as Daulatabad. And he ordered for shifting the capital. Thus, he ordered all the officers from Delhi, their families to shift it, and people also to shift to Devagiri, to move to Devagiri. He made much arrangements for the shifting of capital also. This Delhi to Devagiri, there is much distance is also there. It's a faraway place from Delhi. So he made arrangements for the shifting of capital. And much of the people from Delhi, all the officers, their families, their household articles, cattle, everything was shifted to Devagiri. And that took much time and that caused for much difficulties to the people as well as the officers. Anyhow, as per the order of Sultan, the capital of Sultanate was shifted from Delhi to Devagiri. After reaching Devagiri, he realized the following. He found after few days or months of shifting the capital, he realized that it is very difficult to exercise proper control over Delhi. He can exercise better control over South India, but he found it very difficult to control Delhi properly. And one of the main reasons for shifting the capital was, one is the distance. He cannot exercise proper control over southern territories. And one more reason, that was the constant attack of Mongols from northwestern part of India or northwestern side. Mongols was a constant threat to the Delhi Sultanate. They attacked the Delhi Sultanate constantly. So, to secure the capital from the attack of the Mongols, he planned to shift to the capital. But when he reached Delhi, he found Delhi is not safe. He can exercise proper control over Delhi, but Delhi is not safe because from the northwestern part, Mongols are creating much problem in Delhi. So he decided it is better to move back to Delhi so that the Mongol invasion can properly defended or protected from there. Delhi can be protected from there, and Mongol attacks also can be prevented from Delhi. So thus he ordered shifting the capital from Devagiri to Delhi. He asked all the officers and the people who shifted from Delhi to Devagiri again come back or go back to Delhi. So this also caused much difficulties to the people. Again, the capital was shifted as per the order of Sultan. People left Devagiri and they went back to Delhi. And on these two journeys, lot of money was lost, means spent. Then there was a lot of loss of human resources, materials, and cattle. So many cattle died on the way. Much loss was there in the two journey from Delhi to Devagiri and from Devagiri to Delhi. So ultimately, this shifting of capital proved to be a disaster that was to follow much economic loss to the Sultan, and thus it proved that the shifting of capital was a foolishness. So, first reform, shifting of capital. Then the second one, that is token currency. Second one is token currency. he introduced token currency. The currencies were, or the coins were issued with gold and silver. Gold and silver coins were used in the Delhi Sultanate. But Sultan found a shortage of gold and silver. So the minting of coins in gold and silver is very difficult. He found an alternative. Copper and brass are plenty in its availability. So he thought, why the coins cannot mint in copper or brass, which are plenty in its availability. Instead of gold and silver, why it could not be mint in copper and brass or bronze. So he found it is good. It is a good idea to mint coins in copper and brass. Thus he ordered minting of coins in copper and brass. What happened is, when copper and brass coins were minted, people who were possessing or who had golden and silver coins found difficulty. They had money, they had coins of copper and silver, and they wanted to get equal value of, or equal amount of coins or equal money by exchanging these gold and silver coins. So Sultan gave a provision to the people who are having gold and silver coins can exchange their coins in the royal treasury with the bronze and copper coins. They can get an equal amount of copper coins or bronze coins from the royal treasury by exchanging the golden and silver coins. So people came to the treasury with their gold and silver coins. But what happened when he introduced this reform is, he did not made any proper control over the minting of coins. He did not impose any proper control over the minting of coins. So since copper and bronze were plenty in its availability, and there was no proper rule, no proper control over the minting of coins, people also started to mint coins at their home. What happened? As a result, when people also started to mint coins at their home, the Sultanate flooded with copper and silver coins. People were having huge deposits of copper and silver coins, huge collection of copper and silver coins. Sorry, not copper, copper and silver, copper and bronze coins. Then the Sultan, this time also found his foolishness. He again ordered to stop the minting of coin, copper and bronze coins. This also created much confusion. And finally, this token currency or copper coins, that reform also was a failure. The third reform introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq was taxation. Taxation in gold. Taxation in gold. He raised, Sultan was in need of more revenue, more money. So he increased the tax from Doab region to half of the total produce. This Doab region is a fertile region. The fertile region between River Ganga and Yamuna is called Doab region. So he increased the land tax from Doab region to half of the total produce. It was also a good reform. Sultan could earn more and money, his revenue is increasing. That was good attempt. What happened when he introduced this reform? When he increased the tax from the region, his bad luck. Unfortunately, a famine broke out in Dover, and there was crop failure. People found it very difficult to pay the tax. People found it difficult to pay the already existing tax. And to increase their miseries, Sultan increased the tax of the region. So, what happened? People revolted against the Sultan against this increase in tax. People revolted against the Sultan, and much of the people left their agricultural field and went to forest due to the inability to pay tax. Sultan thought the people are suffering from problem, so he introduced some more reforms. He relief methods he introduced in the Dover region. He asked the officers to provide food grains to the farmers in Dover region freely. He asked to provide more and more irrigation facilities and whatever things required for the relief of the peasants to be done. But these relief works came very late. By that time, large number of farmers died due to starvation. There was shortage of food grains, farming was there, shortage of food grains was there, and due to starvation, large number of people died. So he did not get the tax, but he did not get the money he expected from the Dover region, and the taxation in Dover was also a failure. Then one more reform he introduced, that is plans of conquest. Of conquest. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was an ambitious ruler. He wanted to establish a world empire. That means he wanted to conquer the entire world, and he wanted to establish a world empire. And in order to conquer the entire world, in order to establish a world empire, he organized a special army. He recruited soldiers and organized a special army who are able to fight or who are able to wage wars in any situation, any condition. So such a special army was organized by the Sultan, and he gave or he paid 1 year's salary in advance. He paid to the soldiers 1 year's salary in advance. Okay, but what happened after paying all these salaries and these reforms were made? When he was planning to attack Khorasan, Iran and Iraq, but he found that these soldiers, this special army, found very difficult to cross the passes, the narrow regions, the hilly regions when the expeditions were held. So he conducted a Khorasan expedition, and that was failure. The soldiers were recruited to wage war in a difficult situation, also found very difficult to cross the mountains and wage war in difficult situation. Thus, he had to disband these soldiers. After paying 1 year's full salary, he had to disband the soldiers because he found this army is not sufficient, is not capable to attack or to conquer the entire world. Thus, the plans of conquest was also failure. So, total he introduced 4 reforms. Shifting of capital, which was failure. Token currency, that was also failure. Taxation, though, that was also a disaster. And the plans of conquest, that was also failure. He introduced these reforms there was very good plans, good reforms. But what happened is the execution was not in a proper way. All his reforms or all his plans were wisely conceived, but he could not exercise proper control and proper execution. He could not exercise these reforms properly, and that is why all the reforms introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq proved to be failure, and that is why Muhammad bin Tughlaq is known in the history as the wisest fool. He was very wise, very scholar. He had good knowledge in various subjects, and he introduced reforms also. These reforms were well planned, but he failed to execute it properly, and that is why he is known as the wisest fool. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq is known in the history as wisest fool. Muhammad bin Tughlaq known as the wisest fool in the history of world, because his plans were well conceived, but he failed in its execution. Okay, that's all about the Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now we learn the administration of Delhi Sultanate. Okay. Administration. Administration under Delhi Sultans. Sultan was the head of administration. He had a council of ministers to advise him, but he was the supreme head of administration. All the military, the civil, judicial, all the matters, the word of Sultan was final. Although council of ministers were there to assist the Sultan, the decision of the Sultan was final. Of the ministers, one of the important minister was the Aris I Mumalik. Aris I Mumalik was the head of the military, or the minister in charge of military. Army. Aris I Mumalik. Aris I Mumalik was the minister in charge of army. Two of the important departments were Diwan I Risalat. Diwan I Risalat. Another one was Diwan I Insha. Two important departments were Diwan-i Risalat and Diwan-i Insha. Diwan-i Risalat was the department related with the religious matters as well as foreign affairs. Religious as well as foreign affairs. The Diwan-i Risalat was headed by a chief Sadr. chief Sadar was in charge of the department Diwan-e-Risalt. The head of judicial department is called a Qazi. Head of judicial department is called a Qazi, and usually this Qazi was appointed as the chief Sadar. And Diwan-e-Insha was the department dealt with the correspondence. Diwan-e-Insha was the department dealt with the correspondence. The next administration was the different administrative units. Empire was divided into so many provinces, and the provinces were called Iktas. Iktas were further divided into Shiks. Shiks were further divided into Parganas, and the Parganas were divided into villages. So the administrative units of the Delhi Sultanate Empire was divided into what is provinces. Province is also known as Ikta. Then Iktas are divided into Shiks. Shiks divided into Parganas. Parganas into villages. So these were the administrative units. Iktas, Shiks, Parganas, and villages were the administrative units of the empire. Okay. The administrative units of the empire, once again, Iktas, Shiks, Parganas, and villages. Various officers were there to take care of the different departments or different subjects in these Shiks and Parganas. And some of the important officers of the village administration was village Muqaddam. Muqaddam. Another one, Patwari. And the Mushrif. The Muqaddam, Patwari, and the Mushrif were some of the important officers of the village administration. Muqaddam was the village headman, okay, and the Patwari the record keeper, and the Mushrif was the chief accountant. So this was about the administration during the time of Delhi Sultanate. Now, during the time of some of the sultans, there was a system of assigning revenue lands. The nobles played an important role in Delhi administration, or in the Delhi Sultanate. The place of nobles was very high. They interfered in the administrative matters also. During some of the sultans, these nobles were appointed as the head of province, governors, or provinces were ruled by an officer called Mukti. Ikta was placed under an officer called Mukti. During the time of some of the sultans, provinces were placed under nobles. So nobles got a high place during the Delhi Sultanate. And during some of the sultans, there was a system of assigning revenue lands. And the officers who received a revenue land is called Aniktara. The officer who received a revenue land is called Aniktara, and such a revenue land received by an officer is called Anikta. So, Ikta is province, and some of the revenue lands were assigned to some of the nobles, and this type of revenue lands were also called ICTA, and the system of assigning revenue lands is called ICTA system. Okay, ICTA system. ICTA system, that means the system of assigning revenue lands is called the ICTA system. And the revenue land which was assigned is called ICTA. ICTA was a revenue land assigned to a noble or an officer. And the person who received an ICTA is called ICTA. Anikta was an officer who received Anikta from the Sultan. And Iqtadar, they collected revenue from the land, and the Iqtadar was, or Iqtadar got the responsibility of maintaining a force or an army. And at the time of war, this Iqtadar had to give the had to render military service to the Sultan. This was almost a system prevailed in Europe, like a feudal system prevailed in Europe. In Europe, the feudal system was prevailed in medieval ages, and the feudal lord or the barons, they got land from the ruler, and these barons had to maintain forces for army, and at the time of war, these barons had to render military service to the king. So similarly, this Iqtadar also had to render military service to the Sultan at the time of war. Okay, that's all about the administration. This is about the possession of the nobles, Iqta system, Iqta and Iqtadar. That is where the possession of the nobles. So this much about administration of Delhi Sultanate. So we learned about Alauddin Khilji, we learned this Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and we learned the administrative system of the Delhi Sultans. Okay, that's all. Okay, that's all about Delhi Sultanate. Our lesson 8 is over. So you read the lesson well, you find out the stanzas and learn the lesson well. Thank you.